A Clockwork Orange, 1971, cast Then V's Now, can you guess them? One actor clawed his own eyes raw for a single scene. Another got plucked from this film to become Darth Vader. A third would later haunt you as the ghost in The Shining. And the director banned his own masterpiece from Britain for almost 30 years. So, where are Kubrick's droogs in 2026? Let's find out. Number 1. Malcolm McDowell as Alex DeLarge. Number 1. We have Malcolm McDowell as Alex DeLarge, the charming monster who narrates his own crime spree like he is reading you a bedtime story. McDowell did not just play Alex, he bled for him. During the brainwashing scenes, his eyelids were clamped open and his corneas got scratched so badly that he was temporarily blinded on set, with a doctor standing by between takes. He cracked ribs filming the humiliation sequence too. He was 27 then. He turns 83 inches 2026, and he has never once slowed down. Born Malcolm Taylor in Leeds, he took his mother's maiden name and exploded onto screens in Lindsay Anderson's If, which is exactly what made Kubrick come calling. The singin' in the rain moment? That was his idea, an improvisation Kubrick liked so much he reportedly paid around $10,000 for the song rights the very next day. Critics split right down the middle, some screaming masterpiece, others screaming danger, but nobody ever called it forgettable. After Alex, he became Hollywood's favorite villain, killing Captain Kirk in Star Trek Generations and stalking the Halloween reboot. He became an American citizen in 2021. He married 3 times, his second wife was Mary Steenburgen, and his son Charlie is now a director married to Lily Collins. These days, he plays Pop on Son of a Critch and keeps stacking projects like a vampire thriller about Lord Byron. The man simply refuses to stop having fun. Number 2. Patrick McGee as Mr. Alexander. Number 2. We have Patrick McGee as Mr. Alexander, the writer whose life Alex destroys, then comes back to haunt. If you think Maggie looks completely unhinged in that wheelchair, eyes bulging, voice cracking, that was the whole point, and he honestly worried he was overdoing it. He even turned to McDowell mid-scene and joked that he felt like he was overcooking the entire performance. Kubrick kept every wild frame. Here is the twist nobody expects. Maggie and McDowell had worked together before, back in 1965 on stage. Except, Maggie was the star and McDowell was basically furniture in the background. 6 years later, the roles flipped completely. Born in Armagh in 1922, Maggie was Northern Irish theatre royalty, a Tony winner for Marat, Sod, and the favorite actor of playwright Samuel Beckett, who wrote Krapp's Last Tape specifically for that unmistakable gravel voice. He treated horror films as day jobs to fund his beloved stage work, churning out chillers for Roger Corman and assorted Italian maestros. For Kubrick, he returned as the Chevalier in Barry Lyndon, and one of his final roles was in the Best Picture winner Chariots of Fire. His character is the one who later traps Alex and blasts Beethoven's Ninth through the floorboards until Alex leaps from a high window. Maggie died of natural causes in 1982 at just 60. Had he lived, he would have turned 104 inches 2026. Few actors ever made revenge look so gloriously deranged. Number 3. Warren Clark as Dim. Number 3. We have Warren Clark as Dim, the dim-witted muscle of the Droogs, and the first one bold enough to crack a bottle over Alex's skull. Clark played stupid so convincingly that it is genuinely shocking to learn how sharp the man actually was. Born Alan Clark in Oldham in 1947, he started life as a copyboy at the Manchester Evening News, and during the lean years, his wife reportedly sold her engagement ring just so the two of them could eat. He was barely 24 here. He would have turned 79 inches 2026, but he died peacefully in his sleep in November 2014 at 67 after a short illness. Audiences adored him, and so did McDowell, who liked working with Clark so much that the two reunited for Oh Lucky Man, and later Gulag. But Clark's real second act came on British television, where he spent 11 series as the gloriously rude detective superintendent Andy Dalziel in Dalziel and Pascoe, a blunt northern copper who refused to bow to anyone's polite opinions. He famously turned his nose up at Hollywood, calling it all a bit false and unreal, preferring great scripts and characters over fortunes. A lifelong Manchester City supporter, he balanced gruff exteriors with surprising warmth in everything he touched. His final job was a BBC revival of Poldark. From ultra-violent droog to beloved detective, Clark proved he was always far smarter than the brute who kicked off all the trouble. Number 4. James Marcus as Georgie. Number 4. We have James Marcus as Georgie, Alex's ambitious second-in-command, the Droog, who quietly plots a mutiny and grabs at the crown for himself. Kubrick personally rang up this young actor for an audition, picked him for his ferocious fight scenes and dark stare, and later described him simply as very professional, which from Kubrick was basically a standing ovation. Born Brian James in Romford in 1942, Marcus was an apprentice printer who spent his teenage years gigging before acting found him. He was around 28 during filming. He would have turned 84 inches 2026. Here is the haunting part. Marcus died in May 2020, but the news barely registered anywhere. His passing was only publicly confirmed by the Actors Union Equity more than 4 years later, in 2024, a quiet ending for a man who once helped define one of cinema's loudest films. Before Clockwork, he had popped up uncredited alongside Warren Clark and a young David Bowie in The Virgin Soldiers, a fun bit of trivia for music fans. After the Droogs disbanded, he became a familiar British television face, most notably as fire station chief Sidney Tate across the early seasons of London's Burning. He even stepped behind the camera, writing and directing the gritty 1989 thriller Tank Malling, starring Ray Winstone. His final role was a 2005 turn in EastEnders. Georgie wanted to be the leader, and for one chaotic stretch of cinema history, Marcus absolutely was. Number 5. Michael Tarn as Pete. Number 5. We have Michael Tarn as Pete, the quietest and most forgettable Droog, which is exactly why he survives the whole ordeal with the least damage. While Alex, Dim, and Georgie tore each other apart, Pete simply drifted, and in the novel, he is the only one who grows up into a normal life. Tarn was the baby of the gang, still a teenager when cameras rolled, the son of a film industry stuntman. He turned 73 inches 2026. Here is the detail that makes every aspiring actor laugh and weep at the same time. Tarn later admitted he got paid more money shooting a single chocolate commercial than he earned working for the legendary Stanley Kubrick on one of the most famous films ever made. Let that sink in. A candy advert outpaid cinema immortality. Tarn never chased the spotlight the way his castmates did, and his filmography stayed modest, but his face is burned into film history forever thanks to those 4 matching white outfits and bowler hats. In the mid-2000s, he and his wife actually moved to Spain for a quieter life before family reasons pulled them back to Britain a few years later. His son works in lighting, keeping the family tied to the industry. Of all the Droogs, Pete is the one who walks away cleanest, and Tarn seems to have done much the same in real life. Sometimes blending into the background is the smartest move of all. Number 6. Adrienne Corey as Mrs. Alexander. Number 6. We have Adrienne Corey as Mrs. Alexander, the writer's wife and the victim at the center of the film's most notorious scene, the home invasion staged to Singin' in the Rain. Several actresses turned the part down flat because of how demanding and disturbing it was, which is precisely how the fiery red-haired Corey landed it. And she had zero fear of Kubrick. She loved winding him up, deliberately calling him Sidney to drive him mad, and once said, "You simply have to be very tough with Stanley because it keeps directors in their place." The icy queen of the set, Corey always insisted the sequence was choreographed like a dance, and that audiences imagined seeing far more than the camera ever actually showed. Born in Glasgow in 1931 to an Italian father, she trained at RADA and worked with cinema giants, Jean Renoir on The River, David Lean on Dr. Zhivago, Otto Preminger on Bunny Lake is Missing, plus a string of Hammer-style horror pictures. She was around 40 here. She died in 2016 at 84, which would put her in her mid-90s today. She was once married to actor Daniel Massey, son of the great Raymond Massey. The scene she helped create caused such an uproar that it became a lightning rod for the entire censorship storm around the film. Corey stayed unbothered to the very end, a flame-haired force who refused to be intimidated by anyone, genius director very much included. Number 7. Miriam Carlin as the Cat Lady. Number 7. We have Miriam Carlin as the Cat Lady, the wealthy woman surrounded by felines and provocative art whose deadly run-in with Alex is the very crime that finally lands him in prison. Her scene is short, but it is the hinge the entire plot swings on, the moment Alex's luck runs out for good, and the woman behind it had a backbone of pure steel. Born Miriam Samuels in 1925 into an Orthodox Jewish family, Carlin lost relatives in Auschwitz, and she spent her life as a ferocious activist, championing anti-racism, anti-apartheid, and trade union causes with the same intensity she brought to every role. Her trademark was a deep, rough, husky voice you could never mistake for anyone else. British audiences knew her best as militant shop steward Patty in the sitcom The Rag Trade, where her bellowed catchphrase, "Everybody out," became a national punchline. She was around 45 inches clockwork. She would have turned 101 inches 2026, but she died in 2011 at 85 after a long battle with cancer. She earned an OBE, originated Golda in the London staging of Fiddler on the Roof, and decades later found a whole new audience as the fortune teller in Children of Men. She was also the first woman ever to play the lead in Pinter's The Caretaker, tiny role, towering woman. The cat lady fought Alex to the bitter end, and frankly, so did Carlin with every single cause she ever believed in. Number 8. Aubrey Morris as P.R. Deltoid. Number 8. We have Aubrey Morris as P.R. Deltoid, Alex's slippery probation officer whose idea of mentoring a troubled youth involves an unforgettable jab below the belt. Morris turned what could have been a throwaway bureaucrat into a sweaty, leering, weirdly hilarious creep, blending menace and comedy so perfectly that the character stuck with audiences for decades. The line where he warns little Alex that he is the one man trying to save him is delivered with such oily glee it became instantly quotable. Born Aubrey Steinberg in Portsmouth in 1926, one of 9 children, he trained at RADA on a scholarship, and the legendary Jeremy Brett once introduced him to Noel Coward as the finest small part player in London. High praise, and well earned. He was around 44 here. He would have turned 100 inches 2026, but he died in Los Angeles in 2015 at 89, working almost to the very end. Morris built a cult resume that fantasy and horror fans worship, playing the eerie gravedigger in The Wicker Man, appearing in Woody Allen's Love and Death, and turning up in Life Force. American audiences caught him late in life as the doomed old thespian in Deadwood and, hilariously, as a retired psychiatrist in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which was his final screen role. From a Kubrick masterpiece to one of the rudest sitcoms on television, Morris proved a great character actor never truly retires. Deltoid was sleazy. The man playing him was beloved. Number 9. Michael Bates as Chief Guard Barnes. Number 9. We have Michael Bates as Chief Guard Barnes, the barking, by-the-book prison officer who processes Alex with all the warmth of a slammed cell door. Bates plays the part as pure ramrod military precision, which makes total sense once you learn who he really was. This was no soft theater lovey. Bates was a genuine war hero, an officer in the Gurkhas who served with the Chindits behind Japanese lines in Burma during the Second World War. And here is a detail that hits close to home. He was born in Jhansi in India and spoke fluent Urdu. A British character actor reciting Urdu between takes is the kind of trivia that stops people cold. Born in 1920, he was around 50 during filming. He would have turned 105 inches 2026, but he died of cancer in January 1978 at just 57, far too soon. Two of his films, this one and Patton, where he played Field Marshal Montgomery thanks to an uncanny resemblance, sit in the United States National Film Registry. British viewers adored him as Cyril in Last of the Summer Wine and as Rangi Ram in It Ain't Half Hot Mum, a role that has drawn heavy criticism in later years. A fellow actor once described him perfectly as a character actor who looked like a vicious Toby Jug. Stern on screen, soldier in life, Bates brought real steel to that prison corridor because he had truly lived it. Number 10. Philip Stone as Alex's father. Number 10. We have Philip Stone as Alex's mild-mannered father, the meek, slipper-wearing dad who barely understands the monster sleeping just down the hall. He seems so harmless, so ordinary, which is exactly why his next trick is terrifying. Have you guessed it yet? This gentle father is the same actor who would later look Jack Nicholson dead in the eye in The Shining and calmly explain that he had always been the caretaker. Yes, Alex's dad is Delbert Grady. Born Philip Stones in Leeds in 1924, he holds a record almost no actor on earth can claim. He is the only performer to appear in 3 consecutive Stanley Kubrick films, the meek father here, the family lawyer in Barry Lyndon, and the ghostly butler in The Shining. Kubrick spotted him on a London stage and simply refused to let him go. He was around 46 inches clockwork. He would have turned 102 inches 2026, but he died of a heart attack in 2003 at 79. Stone's life had real hardship behind the calm exterior. He served in the Royal Air Force during the war and battled tuberculosis in the 1950s, which forced him off the stage and briefly back into engineering. He clawed his way back to acting and never looked back, also playing a memorable role in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. So next time that quiet dad pours Alex's cereal, remember you are watching one of horror's most chilling ghosts hiding in plain sight. Number 11. Godfrey Quigley as the prison chaplain. Number 11. We have Godfrey Quigley as the prison chaplain, the boozy, blustering man of God who delivers the single most important speech in the entire film. While everyone obsesses over the violence, it is this character who asks the question Kubrick actually cares about: whether a man who is forced to be good has any real goodness in him at all, or whether choice is the only thing that makes morality mean anything. Heavy stuff from a man often clutching a drink. Quigley sells every word of it. Born in Jerusalem in 1923, where his father was serving as a British Army officer, Quigley grew up to become a pillar of Irish theater, training at the Abbey School of Acting and founding his own Globe Theatre Company. He was around 47 inches clockwork. He would have turned 103 inches, 2026, but he died in Dublin in 1994 at 71. Like several of his castmates, Quigley impressed Kubrick enough to be invited back, reappearing as Captain Grogan in Barry Lyndon, the soldier who takes young Redmond Barry under his wing. On British television, he played a fading gangster in the gritty serial Big Breadwinner Hogg. The chaplain is the film's moral conscience, the one-voice warning that the Ludovico technique strips a man of his very soul, and Quigley gives that warning real weight. He is the character people quote when they want to prove this shocking film was a serious piece of philosophy all along. A drunken priest and the smartest man in the room. Number 12. Carl During as Dr. Brodsky. Number 12. We have Carl During as Dr. Brodsky, the cold, clinical mastermind behind the Ludovico technique, the brainwashing experiment that turns Alex into a malfunctioning machine. Brodsky watches Alex squirm with the detached curiosity of a man studying a lab rat, and that chilly precision is what makes the treatment scene so deeply uncomfortable to sit through. Here is the surprise. The man who played this very British villain of science was actually born in Berlin. Born Gerhard Fuchs in 1923, he fled to England, legally changed his name to Gerald Percy Fox, and acted under the stage name Carl During. His German roots meant he spent a huge chunk of his career playing enemy officers in war pictures, including Battle of Britain and the fugitive hunting thriller The Boys from Brazil. He was around 47 inches clockwork. He lived to the remarkable age of 95, passing away in London in September 2018, which would make him 103 inches 2026. During also turned up in the genuinely disturbing 1981 horror film Possession and the wartime drama Operation Daybreak, before bowing out with the film Saltwater in 2000. Brodsky is the human face of the film's biggest fear, a state so eager to manufacture obedient citizens that it happily destroys free will to get there. During plays him without a flicker of conscience, which is precisely what makes him so frightening. No monster, no mad scientist cackle, just a calm professional doing terrible things and calling it progress. That is the scariest villain of all. Number 13. Madge Ryan as Dr. Branham. Number 13. We have Madge Ryan as Dr. Branham, Brodsky's assistant, the doctor with the slightly warmer bedside manner who still calmly helps engineer Alex's psychological collapse. She smiles, she reassures, and then she injects, which somehow makes her even creepier than her stone-faced colleague. And given the title of this very video, there is a perfect little detail here you are going to love. McDowell remembered that before Ryan stuck the needle into his arm on camera, she nervously practiced her injection technique on an orange. An actor named Alex, a doctor, a needle, and an orange. You honestly could not script it any better. Born in Australia in 1919, Ryan came to London with the hit play Summer of the 17th Doll, fell in love with the city, and simply stayed, building a respected stage career that included Joe Orton's entertaining Mr. Sloan. She was around 51 here. She would have turned 107 inches, 2026, but she died in 1994 at 75. In a strange echo of castmate Michael Bates, Ryan also worked for Alfred Hitchcock just a year after Kubrick, appearing in Frenzy. Here is a wild family footnote. Her actress daughter, Lynn Ashley, was once married to Monty Python's Eric Idle, and one of Madge's final roles was in Idle's 1993 comedy, Splitting Heirs. From Kubrick to Hitchcock to Python by marriage, Ryan's quiet career brushed up against some of the biggest names in film. The gentle doctor with the steady hands and, apparently, very well-rehearsed fruit. Number 14. Anthony Sharp as the Minister of the Interior. Number 14. We have Anthony Sharp as Frederick, the Minister of the Interior. The slick, photo-ready politician who handpicks Alex as the perfect guinea pig for the government's brutal new rehabilitation program. Sharp plays him as a pure spin doctor, all confident smiles and zero conscience, the kind of official who treats a human being as a publicity opportunity. He chooses Alex precisely because he is, in the minister's chilling words, young, bold, and vicious. And when the experiment blows up in the government's face, it is this same smooth talker who slithers back to make amends in the film's unforgettable final scene, literally spoon-feeding the recovered Alex. Born in 1915 inches London, Sharp had an unglamorous start, working as an insurance policy draftsman before catching the acting bug, and he eventually became a triple threat who wrote and directed as well as acted. He was around 56 here. He would have turned 111 inches 2026, but he died in 1984 at 69. He was a Kubrick repeat customer too, returning as Lord Hallam in Barry Lyndon, and he spent much of his career playing lords, sirs, and ministers, the very establishment figures audiences love to distrust. He even headlined a 1976 horror film as a rare leading role. The minister represents Kubrick's sharpest target, the corrupt state that cares about appearances over souls, and Sharp embodies that smiling rot perfectly. Alex ends the film cured all right, and it is this politician's hand feeding him. A villain in a suit, the most dangerous kind. Number 15. John Savidant as the conspirator Dolan. Number 15. We have John Savidant as the conspirator Dolan, one of the shadowy political plotters who later try to weaponize the broken Alex against the very government that ruined him. It is a small, sinister role in a sea of them, but Savidant would go on to become one of the most recognizable faces in all of British television, and almost nobody connects the two. Here is the reveal. This Kubrick conspirator is the same booming-voiced butcher Fred Elliott who charmed millions on Coronation Street for over a decade, complete with that beloved I say catchphrase. Born in Guernsey in 1937, Savidant actually started out as a police officer before turning to acting, and he became a genuine stage heavyweight, even originating the role of Monsieur Firmin in the West End production of The Phantom of the Opera. He was around 33 inches clockwork. He died in February 2024 at 86, which would have made him 89 inches 2026. His life held real drama, too. He survived a frightening attack at his Manchester home by a man he had befriended, an ordeal that made national headlines. He also popped up in Hollywood fare like the Bruce Willis film Hudson Hawk and in Gandhi, but it was that larger-than-life butcher, all-comic bluster, and bottomless heart that made him a household name. From a silent Kubrick conspirator to the loudest man on the cobbles, Savidant's range was enormous, proof that even the tiniest Droog-era role can hide a future legend. Number 16. Clive Francis as Joe the Lodger. Number 16. We have Clive Francis as Joe the Lodger, the smug young tenant who has moved into Alex's bedroom while he was locked away, and who greets the returning Alex with pure contempt while cozying up to his parents. It is a deliciously punchable little performance, the ultimate unwanted houseguest. And Francis has one of the funniest behind-the-scenes confessions of the entire cast. Remember Joe endlessly chewing toast at the breakfast table? Francis later revealed that Kubrick demanded so many takes that he munched his way through roughly a loaf and a half of bread, and ended the day feeling genuinely sick to his stomach. The price of perfection. Born in Eastbourne in 1946, Francis is wonderful news for this list, because he is very much alive, and still working, turning 80 inches 2026. He has enjoyed a rich career on stage alongside John Gielgud and worked with author Graham Greene on Greene's final play. Modern viewers will recognize him as Lord Salisbury in the first two seasons of The Crown, and he also appeared in Mike Leigh's Mr. Turner and The Lost City of Z. Here is a charming bonus. Francis is also a gifted caricaturist and illustrator who has published books of his own artwork, even illustrating a brochure for Laurence Olivier's 80th birthday. Actor and artist in one. Joe the Lodger was an irritating little squatter, but the man who played him built a long, quietly distinguished, and very much ongoing career. Number 17. Stephen Burkoff as Detective Constable Tom. Number 17. We have Stephen Burkoff as Detective Constable Tom, one of the officers who roughs up Alex after his arrest, repaying a little of the ultraviolence Alex dished out earlier. Burkoff was on set for only about 2 days, a tiny early credit, yet he would grow into one of the most intense and instantly recognizable screen villains of his generation. Here is the through line you will spot immediately. That brief Clockwork Cop became the go-to bad guy of 1980s blockbuster cinema. Burkhoff was the scheming General Orlov in the Bond film Octopussy, the cold art-dealing villain hunting Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop, and the sadistic Soviet officer torturing Sylvester Stallone in Rambo. First Blood Part 2. If a Hollywood action movie needed a refined menace in that decade, Burkhoff got the call. Born Leslie Burks in London's Stepney in 1937, he is far more than a hired heavy. He is a celebrated playwright, theater director, and author, a true force of avant-garde British theater who even performed solo shows about Shakespeare's villains around the world. He turns 89 inches 2026 and remains a creative powerhouse. He also memorably played Adolf Hitler in the epic miniseries War and Remembrance and a London gangster in The Craze. From a two-day stint as a brutal cop in a Kubrick film to terrorizing Bond, Murphy, and Rambo, Burkhoff turned the art of the screen villain into a decades-long masterclass. Small role, gigantic legacy. Number 18. David Prowse as Julian. Number 18, and we saved the biggest jaw-dropper for last. We have David Prowse as Julian, the towering, muscle-bound bodyguard who carries the wheelchair-bound rider, and earlier looms as the menacing bouncer at the Korova Milk Bar. He barely speaks. He does not need to. That sheer physical size is the entire point, and it changed movie history forever. Have you guessed who this giant really is? This is the man who became Darth Vader. Yes, the actor physically carrying Patrick McGee up those stairs is the body inside the most iconic villain costume of all time. George Lucas spotted the 6'6" Prowse in this very film and offered him a choice between Chewbacca and Vader. Prowse picked the Sith Lord because, in his own words, everyone remembers the bad guy. His West Country accent got him dubbed over by James Earl Jones, a sting he never fully shook, but his physical presence built a legend anyway. Born in Bristol in 1935, Prowse was a three-time British weightlifting champion who also became a national hero to British kids as the Green Cross Code road safety man, earning an MBE for it. He even helped train Christopher Reeve to bulk up for Superman. On set, he once cheekily reminded Kubrick that his name was not One Take Kubrick after hauling McGee down those stairs again and again. He died in 2020 at 85, which would make him 91 inches 2026. From a silent Kubrick strongman to the dark side of the Force, Prowse is the ultimate then and now. So there they are, the unforgettable faces behind Kubrick's most dangerous film, scattered across war heroes, ghosts, butchers, and a future Darth Vader. Which reveal genuinely shocked you the most? Drop it in the comments right now. And here's the question I really want you to fight about down below. More than 50 years on, is A Clockwork Orange a fearless masterpiece that warned us about state control, or a film so dangerous its own director was right to bury it for almost 30 years? Pick a side and defend it.